We also have to prove that 5.56 or 2.23 is actually capable of killing large and dangerous animals and not superficially wounding them for it to be considered at all. The 22 Savage High Power is very similar to the 2.23 in bullet weight and caliber. It does have a bit more power than most 2.23 or 5.56 rounds though. It generally has a 70 grain jacketed soft point and almost 1,500 foot-pounds of energy. Harry R. Caldwell expressly says that he used this caliber to kill a tiger. He shot it in the stomach, killing it instantly. He said that if the animal had swallowed a bomb, the effect would not have been any greater. He likely killed more than one tiger with this rifle, but didn't mention the caliber specifically in relation to those tigers. Not too bad for a missionary. If a bullet does enough damage to be effective on a large animal, logically speaking, it is irrelevant whether that animal is or isn't dangerous to begin with. Biology and physics apply equally to dangerous and non-dangerous animals. Adrenaline is used in both the situation that the animal wants to fight you and in the case that it wants to run away from you in order to save its life. Determination can be variable in both dangerous and non-dangerous animals as well. However, from an illogical perspective, it is more impressive to hear that someone killed dangerous animals and bet his life on a given weapon. This is because intent matters a lot in a romanticized view of the world. A weapon used for a dangerous game assumes a legendary status, especially if it's extra powerful. Yet a weapon used specifically for deer hunting is viewed as common and unimpressive because deer are not special. Never mind the fact that the same rifle may be used successfully for both animals. I don't want to take up too much of your time with the point that small caliber rifles can be used on various game, so I'll go through some evidence briefly. This was a moose shot with 223 77 grain TMK. TMK means tipped match king, as in a bullet that was designed for match shooting and not hunting. You may then think, well, isn't that a little silly to use match bullets that were designed for greater accuracy and not regular hunting bullets? It does seem a bit silly, but the answer is actually more ridiculous. The reality is that the Game King bullets designed for hunting have a thicker jacket and consequently have less effectiveness on an animal than the Match King bullets do. This was a 223 or 5.56 bullet recovered from an elk that was killed at 287 yards. This was an elk killed with an 88 grain ELD-M at 87 yards. I believe it was a 22-250. The heart and lungs were destroyed, and it didn't make it 20 yards before dying. This was another elk killed with an 88 grain 22-250. This is a 77 grain TMK that was recovered from another elk shot with either a 223 or 5.56. This was an elk shot at 171 yards with a 77 grain TMK and had a 4-inch wide shredded wound channel on the entry side. This was a 6-foot black bear shot with a 223 77 grain bullet. Another elk shot with a 77 grain 223, another moose shot this time with the 223 actually improved and a 77 grain bullet. This was a coastal brown bear shot twice with a 62 grain Hornady black full metal jacket. Another coastal brown bear shot once with a 62 grain full metal jacket. This time there was no upset of the bullet at all. It was minimal damage to the shoulder, lung, and gut. This was a grizzly bear, I believe, shot with a 223 77 grain TMK. Neither the heart nor the lungs were hit, and the assumption that the hunter made was that the bullet hit some arteries. So at this point we know that the 223 and other small calibers like the 22-250 can kill large animals reliably and without significant issue. I would have liked to show you some of the damage inflicted on the animals, but that wouldn't sit well with YouTube. So I'll just say that a 223 TMK is capable of putting a hole in a moose's heart that you'd probably be able to put your fist into. None of these animals were killed with brain shots, by the way. In the case of the full metal jacket that made a very small wound in the one coastal brown bear, the bullet choice was obviously lacking, not the caliber itself. People will try to argue semantics and say that killing a bear is different than stopping a bear attack. Technically speaking, yes it is, and if we are talking about stopping the bear with an immediate physical incapacitation, the difference largely lies in shot placement, not in caliber. We also have a case of this man armed with an AK-74 successfully defending himself from a 600-pound brown bear. The bear didn't need to be physically incapacitated, as it ran away once it had enough of being shot. It ran down a hill and stopped when it ran into a tree, which is where it died from the gunshot wounds. Not every angry bear needs to be immediately physically incapacitated for an attack to stop, but that should be the goal anyway, because you have no idea how things are going to turn out in the end. What if you made a less than ideal shot though, and you didn't have a really modern bullet design? This is an account of a .22 Savage high power used on a brown bear at a distance of 282 feet. John Goodall shot this bear from behind as it was walking away. After the round entered the body cavity, it totally destroyed the intestines and tore to shreds one kidney and part of its liver. After shooting the bear, he apparently decided to go fishing and come back later, so we don't have any real idea of how long it took to die, but it didn't go more than 50 feet from where it was shot. The next day, he shot the bear's head with another round to further test the cartridge. The round completely split the head in half. Another round to the jaw almost completely severed the jaw off. It was just barely hanging on. So you get the point that the equivalent of a hot .223 soft point can kill a good-sized brown bear just as long as you put the round into something important. This was not in any way a special or sophisticated round. It was made with early 1900s bullet technology. This bullet and caliber were never intended to be used for large game though. It was really designed to be used for varmints and the occasional deer. As a consequence of the original intent, high velocity, and bullet technology, it was not useful for shoulder shots on moose. Due to the fragmentation, it didn't have enough penetration to get through the muscles and bone with the standard jacketed soft points. Yet for smaller animals like coyotes, it was unquestionably better than the more powerful rifles like the .303 Savage, which was similar to the .308. So if you made sure to aim for the lungs and not the shoulders of the moose, you could very easily kill it. However, you could also shoot a single .22 Savage through a large black bear's foreleg and into its chest, killing it easily. The penetration of fragmenting rounds is not always consistent, which may explain some of the difference in results between the moose and the black bear, but these are just two examples. The famous and influential W.D.M. Bell mentioned an instance of buffalo being killed on the west coast of Africa with the .22 Savage high power as an example of what could be done instead of what should be done. This was 23 buffalo killed with 27 shots of 70 grain jacketed soft points. Since this was a chaotic situation, some buffalo were accidentally shot more than once. They were also intentionally shot through the ribs and into the lungs because that guaranteed success, whereas other angles, like lengthwise, shot from the rear, would be questionable at best with such a round. Nobody should make a habit of shooting animals through the rear anyway. Some people have evidently misunderstood this article somehow, and they believe that Bell himself was the shooter, but that's clearly not the case if you read the full article carefully. If I remember correctly, Bell didn't make any distinction between the different kinds of buffalo, but given the location, I believe these may have been Sudan buffalo. In the early 1900s, when the .22 Savage high power first came out, people were impressed how much damage it made, and it was even compared to the .405 Winchester. The .405 Winchester is considerably more powerful than most any modern .45-70 load, and yet the .22 Savage high power was still capable of doing more damage. This is obviously counterintuitive that a caliber meant for varmints would end up being more damaging than the caliber meant for very large game. If you told your bear guide that you wanted to use a .405 Winchester, that would get a very different response than if you told him that you wanted to use the .22 high power. Let's set aside the fact that he probably doesn't know what either of these calibers are and assume that you took the time to familiarize him with both. The problem is that people keep falling into the trap where they think every caliber should be judged by its energy, but energy by itself doesn't directly correlate into more damage on the animal. More damage to vitals, on average, can kill faster, but sometimes it's hard for people to understand that animals can only die so quickly despite the fact that you inflicted a lot of damage, and that at a certain point, you reach a point of diminishing gains. A reoccurring problem that I've noticed is that many people don't shoot their magnum rifles well. regardless if the context is African dangerous game or brown bear hunting in Alaska. So we have high recoiling magnum rifles causing average people to flinch and wound game. Yet if you were to suggest to use a non-magnum rifle that does sufficient damage for you to successfully take a given animal, that would be seen as marginal at best or inhumane and immoral at worst. When we stop to think about it like that, we realize that it's a backwards, illogical, dangerous, and probably unethical way of doing things. Unethical for both the people being put in danger and for the animals that get wounded as a result. People will then point out that it's really the fault of the hunter who should have done more to learn how to shoot a magnum rifle without flinching. But we have to ask, why would the hunter need to do that if he doesn't need to use a magnum rifle in the first place? It seems that people believe that hunting large game, including bears with non-magnum calibers like 5.56 or 7.62 by 39, is a bad idea, and they have really no modern evidence to back that conclusion up. However, you could find an instance of non-modern .30-30 ammunition being largely ineffective, though. Regardless, such a belief or claim that taking game with non-magnum calibers like 5.56 is a bad idea, that just doesn't hold up at all when confronted with the actual evidence. What is or isn't a good idea is also largely a matter of opinion as well. Someone may even cite a case where a bear had little reaction to magnum rifle bullets, and then state that it would be an even worse situation if you used a less powerful caliber. That is an assumption, of course, and an assumption is not an argument, as it proves nothing. If that same incident of little or no reaction happened with a smaller caliber rifle, then that person would likely use it as an example of how useless the small caliber is. The reason that someone holds an untrue belief is usually either because they simply don't know better, or it's because they are unwilling to accept the evidence in front of them due to the fact that they are biased. Yes, more powerful rifles do more damage, and they give you a larger margin of error, provided you use the same kind of ammunition for each cartridge. How much of a difference this is, again, depends on the ammunition. Some people used to use full metal jacket rounds for hunting, not because this is all they had, but because they preferred them to all other kinds of ammunition available. They even went as far to say that the old soft point ammunition was essentially obsolete when compared to the new pointed full metal jacket rounds. With such full metal jackets, you may have zero margin of error because there is no expansion, and there may be no tumbling that could cause any significant amount of damage. I mention this to illustrate the point that margin for error is not really a necessity. I'm not suggesting that people use full metal jackets, obviously. A larger margin of error is the most beneficial to the person with poor marksmanship, but that person would almost certainly be more accurate and consequently more effective with a smaller caliber rifle. Compared to a .223, a .338, for example, has a much higher chance of immediate incapacitation through hydrodynamic shock caused brain damage. Since this is rare, it's really not that large of a factor at all, in my opinion. Likewise, the .338 could give much more penetration, where a .223 would not. I'm not saying that the AR-15 is the best gun for hunting, and I'm certainly not saying that everyone should go out and hunt bears with it. What I am saying is that we should be honest and objective about the pros and cons for each weapon. Let's compare the AR-15 and the .338 bolt action for bear defense at close range. If you are aiming at the head and you miss with the .338, the bear will probably be on you before you can cycle it again. In comparison, the AR-15 allows you to make more rapid follow-up shots. Remember, any of one of those rounds has the capability to split a bear's head clean in half if you use the right ammunition. I personally believe that it is possible that you could use a 5.56 or 7.62 by 39 to break the shoulders on a charging bear and also incapacitate it that way. So we really shouldn't have to say that an AR-15 or an AK is not the best gun for bear defense, as there are guns that are far worse for the job. I think a lot of guides have not killed bears with smaller calibers like .223 because they see them as totally inadequate cartridges and would say that's the sort of thing that should never be done. So if someone's opinion on, say, the effect of .223 on large game is not based on something that they have seen, or based on a detailed knowledge of the matter, I would probably want to know where they are getting this opinion and why that opinion would have any merit. This is some fairly inarguable evidence that shooting a large animal with small caliber rifles is not just a dangerous stunt. We can compare the time it takes to kill bison, for example, with a .22 Savage and a .338. When we do this, we find that it is possible to kill a bison with a single .22 Savage in less time than it can take to kill with multiple rounds of .338. I don't know what exactly kind of .338 rifle was used here, but the point is that you can actually achieve better results with an obsolete small caliber rifle than a modern large caliber rifle that has significant power. The video showed very little of the hunt, by the way. Part of the problem regarding prejudice against smaller calibers is due to the fact that regular people are not really well informed. So when they look to bear guides, for example, many of the guides will say to use at least a 300 Win Mag or the biggest caliber that you can handle for bears. The same idea of bigger is always better is also applied to African dangerous game as well. We would not apply the bigger is always better logic to any other part of our lives because it is ridiculous. A larger sofa, washing machine, or truck is not always better. Likewise, with items that could directly save your life, like tourniquets, concealed handguns, and seatbelts, bigger is not always better. And yet no caliber is too large for bear hunting. That's because bears are scary, and people always say that any gun feels too small when they realize that the bear could easily tear them apart. The fact that their magnum rifle is extremely powerful becomes a source of comfort and confidence. You gain further confidence when everyone tells you that you made a really good choice by choosing the right bear gun. If you find that sort of thing helps you, go right ahead and enjoy it. But we should always remember the fact that the rifle is not here to comfort us. Its practical use is to physically incapacitate. Larger bullets can result in faster kills, but not always. If we make decisions based off of fear instead of a more rational thought process, the outcome is probably going to be a bad one. This is also why people run from bears when they shouldn't. Likewise, if someone loses confidence in a rifle that they have because of a simple mistake that they made, like using flat-nose, non-expanding bullets that jam the rifle, they may decide to buy a new rifle instead of fixing that simple mistake. Such a decision is obviously not a purely logical one, but people don't always do logical things. This particular situation isn't a hypothetical one either, by the way. A lot of these same errors in logic also apply to hunting elephants. The person who believes that you need a .458 Win Mag to kill an elephant is sorely mistaken. There is nothing alive on Earth today that you actually absolutely need a .458 Win Mag or 375 H&H to kill. Whales and elephants have both been killed with less powerful 9.3x62 rifles. People use even smaller calibers to kill whales, but it's harder for me to say how effective they are based on the evidence that I've seen. People thought WDM Bell was crazy for using smaller calibers to kill elephants, and some like to downplay his success, but he was extremely successful because he knew what he was doing. The caliber and energy minimums set into law in various African countries for hunting dangerous game are largely a reminder that the conventional wisdom has failed to accept the lessons learned from people like WDM Bell. What determines which is the better weapon for you is largely based on your individual circumstances. For example, which weapon are you more familiar or skilled with? Do you actually have ammunition available for both weapons that will do well for bear defense? These two questions are probably the most important ones to ask. Once we have answered them, we can go down the list for other factors, like does this rifle have a better safety, stock, or anything else than the other?